Unbelievable. She begged for a simple hug. Discover how a billionaire transformed her life forever. Jessie Malone stood behind the counter of the old diner, the scent of greasy hash browns mixed with strong coffee hanging thick in the air. It was a daily grind that took its toll on her, a rhythm of broken dreams and heartache. At 30, every shift felt like a reminder of who she hadn't become. Her wavering smile masked an overwhelmed heart, struggling to care for her ailing mother, Rose, who fought against the cruel grips of dementia. She felt invisible in the world around her. Bills piled up like unwanted memories, their weight heavier than the plates she carried. A customer's gruff orders snapped her back to the present, yet her mind raced with thoughts of bending light into paint strokes, a love for art she'd surrendered long ago. In whispered moments, Jessie begged for a simple hug from anyone to ease the relentless ache inside her. Hope felt like a distant echo, and the idea of putting herself first made her heart thud with panic. Was it her duty to care for Rose on the horizon? Jessie inhaled sharply, desperation mingling with a numbing fear of failure. Each day slipped through her fingers like grains of sand, and yet she balanced 2 jobs: waitressing during the day, cleaning wealthy homes by night. Her routine was a cycle of monotony and sacrifice, and the thought of stepping outside of it terrified her. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The day she was assigned to clean the penthouse of billionaire David Lawson was surreal and nerve-wracking. Upon entering, she felt the stark contrast of opulence that both amazed and mocked her. She acknowledged the luxurious possessions, gilded frames, priceless art, each telling a story of privilege she couldn't relate to. Clumsiness seeped into her confidence, and as she dusted, the unthinkable happened. She spilled coffee on an exquisite piece of art. Her breath caught in her throat, panic flaring as she braced for an explosion of anger. Instead, he smiled, an unexpected warmth radiating from him. "Accidents happen," he said softly, as if recognizing her struggle. In that chaotic moment, Jessie spilled not just coffee, but parts of her heart, revealing the isolation that overshadowed both their lives: a billionaire trapped in privilege and a waitress lost in sacrifice. David listened intently, his eyes filled with understanding, igniting a flicker of recognition deep inside her. But as Jessie embraced this peculiar connection, the weight of her reality loomed larger. His kindness sparked a dormant ember in her, a yearning to create, to express, and yet the relentless pull of her mother's care was a chain she couldn't break. Enjoying moments of mentoring felt like a betrayal to Rose, the woman who once believed in her dreams. Each brushstroke she imagined was a tug-of-war between 2 worlds. Fighting tears, Jessie faced her growing passion with exhilaration and dread, wondering if she could ever truly embrace this change while her responsibilities shadowed every step. As she prepared for her solo exhibition, everything felt like a high-wire act. Would she fall or soar? Standing at this precipice, Jessie felt the deep chasm of uncertainty. David's approving nods could not drown out the fear of exposing her true self. Would he see her as an equal or just another struggling artist beneath the glitz? The gallery lights beckoned, yet as she hesitated, the past threatened to hold her back. Her art was meant to reveal truths, and yet here she stood, caught in the chaos between hope and despair. The silence in the gallery echoed Jessie's internal struggle, each passing minute a tightrope walk above the abyss of her fears. The paintings hung, revealing her soul, yet she felt an unseen hand pushing her backward, its grip tightening with every heartbeat. The vibrant colors clashed with her muted emotions, starkly portraying visions of freedom she hardly dared to claim. Her phone buzzed in her apron pocket, a reminder of responsibilities that awaited her. It was a text from a nurse managing Rose's care. "She has been asking for you." Every message pulled her deeper into the duality of her existence, a daughter, bound by duty, and a burgeoning artist, yearning for expression. The selfish pang of wanting to focus on her art clashed painfully with the unconditional love she felt for her mother. Taking a shaky breath, Jessie glanced at David, who was engaged in conversation with a couple near her exhibition space. His presence radiated assurance, yet she hesitated. Would he still look at her with those understanding eyes if he knew the mess stitching her life together? As the discomfort churned in her stomach, an idea began to tickle the edges of her mind, a plan rooted in ambition but encumbered by guilt. She envisioned herself stepping into a new life, one that didn't revolve solely around caretaking and scrubbing floors. Paintbrushes swirling in brilliant colors bubbled up, calling her back to that creative fire she thought had long since extinguished. Every fiber of her being yearned to chase this dream, but it felt like an impossible venture while tethered to her commitments. Pushing aside the anxiety, she forced her feet to move toward David. This encounter could be her chance, a way to connect and glean advice. The artists she admired, the ones who soared above the mundane, had all found mentors, and perhaps he would offer something more than sympathy. David? She approached, confidence warring with vulnerability. He turned, curiosity flickering in his eyes. Jessie. He smiled, a warm invitation. What's on your mind? I am preparing for the exhibition, but I feel. Jessie stalled, caught between honesty and her ingrained fear of judgment. I feel like I'm also letting my responsibilities strain me. I'm struggling to find the balance. David tilted his head. Balance? It was a simple word, yet it bore the weight of her conflict. Juggling my passion, my job, and my mother's needs. Sometimes, I don't know how to prioritize. I'm scared, David. Scared that I might fail at everything. Failure is just part of the journey, Jessie. His voice was steady, like the grounding she hadn't realized she needed. What if you could view your responsibilities as a source of inspiration instead of an anchor? The thought struck her. What if the love she carried for her mother could infuse her art? Moments shared with Rose, her first unsteady brush strokes mirrored by the journey they shared together. Jessie had always thought they were separate, yet in David's words lay an epiphany. Perhaps her past did not limit her existence, perhaps it enriched her canvas. Consider this, David continued, leaning closer. Art is about revealing truth, and your truth is powerful. You're not an artist because of what you create but because of what you live. Joy blossomed abruptly within her. The reminder that her struggles might be her greatest source of creativity made everything feel possible. But still, a new fear crept in. Was it really acceptable to use her pain as motivation, or was that merely a sentimental trap? Moments ticked by like raindrops falling on glass, time distilling the gravity of his words. Jessie gazed into David's eyes, finding strength there, but lingering doubts forced her to turn away. Thanks for listening, David. I'll think about it. With new resolve, she began to envision the next step forward, but as she walked away, a question clawed within her. Was she transforming her life with his faith, or merely fooling herself into believing? Outside the gallery, the world pulsed with energy, but Jessie felt tethered. She was stepping onto a narrow path, fraught with risk. As she drew in a deep breath, she spotted a familiar figure across the street, a reminder of the past, one that could shatter the resolve she had started to build. The sense of foreboding swept over her. Her mother was far from forgotten, and Jessie knew the time had come to confront both the woman she had to care for and the artist she was destined to become. Would she integrate the light of passion with the shadow of her obligations, or would fear clamp her back into a life of mere survival? The rising dawn of possibility twisted into a tempest of questions as she prepared to take the next step. Jessie stood frozen on the sidewalk, her heart racing as she caught sight of the familiar figure. A wave of emotion surged within her: confusion, love, and a bitter lump of resentment. The woman across the street was not just her mother, she was the embodiment of the life Jessie feared she would inherit if she was not careful. Rose was hunched over, seemingly lost in thought, the weight of her illness evident in her posture. With every step Jessie took towards her, uncertainty gripped her. The artist she longed to be clashed with the dutiful daughter who had slaved to support a woman too sick to care for herself. Would this conversation shatter the fragile stability she was beginning to build, or ignite a spark that could light her creative path? Mom?" Jessie called out hesitantly, her voice trembling slightly in the brisk air. Rose turned, her weary but loving eyes meeting Jessie's. For a moment, it seemed as if the chaos around them muted itself, leaving only the two of them suspended in time. Jessie saw the familiar flicker of recognition and confusion in her mother's expression. "Jessie, you came." "I got your message," Jessie replied, taking a few more steps toward her mother, who wore the same faded cardigan that Jessie had once loved to paint. "How are you doing?" "I'm okay, just tired." Rose's words held the heaviness of unspoken truths. Jessie's pulse quickened. Here stood her mother, a silent reminder of sacrifices and guilt wrapped tightly in layers of love. "Can we talk about the nurse's schedule? I want to make sure everything is all right with your care." "I know you have your art and your work," Rose said with a hint of sadness dancing in her voice. "But I still need you, Jessie. I can't do this without you." The word struck Jessie, a fusion of guilt and anger coursing through her veins. "But what about me, Mom? What about the things I want?" Jessie nearly shouted, her frustration spilling over. The weight of her own aspirations crashed down against the ocean of her mother's dependence. "I can't always be your caretaker." Rose's face softened, and for a moment, Jessie saw not a frail woman asking for help but a mother who had sacrificed everything so her daughter could have more than they ever had. "Jessie, I never meant for you to feel trapped. I wanted you to chase the dreams I couldn't," Rose said quietly, her voice cracking. "But you need to promise me you'll always be there for me. What happens after I'm gone?" As those words hung in the air like an acrid fog, Jessie recoiled. She had spent years preparing for a future defined by caretaking, yet it was the prospect of loss that unleashed the most profound sense of urgency within her. The fear of losing Rose mingled with the realization that her mother's frailty didn't have to define her own existence. Rage ignited a new determination. "I will be there, but I can't wait for a future that feels like a shadow." Jessie felt the flicker of rebellion against the constraints imposed by duty. "I need to create, Mom. To be an artist, to tell our story." For a brief moment, Rose appeared lost, caught somewhere between wanting to reassure Jessie and understanding the tumult within her. "Then show me," she finally said, her voice steadier. "Show me the art you create, the art that reflects your truth." In that moment, Jessie forged a connection that felt transformative, yet delicate as porcelain. A powerful dialogue opened between them, one that could weave the past with the aspirations of the future and free Jessie from the suffocating grip of obligation. The world did not need to be black and white, she could exist in the vibrant hues of both love and passion, but as they stood there, words tumbling like pieces of vivid paint splashing onto a canvas, an unsettling thought pierced through: how could she truly embrace her art while balancing her mother's care? What practical steps could she take to weave her newfound vision into reality? With a determination that vied with uncertainty, Jessie stepped back, torn but emboldened. "I'll start with sketches and ideas, Mom. Just give me a moment to think. I'll need your support too." Before her mother nodded, Jessie's phone buzzed again, the familiar sound, a stark reminder of her looming responsibilities. What fresh call to duty awaited her? As she faced Rose, the swirling colors of her aspirations and obligations melded into a vivid picture, yet the uncertainties remained a cold shadow at the edges of her mind. Could the intense mingling of love, art, and duty forge the path she desperately wanted? The question hung, unexplored and daunting, as she prepared for the day ahead, torn between a mother's legacy and her own ambitions. Would she rise to meet the challenge, or would the weight of responsibilities drag her down once more? The morning light spilled through Jessie's window, casting a golden glow that sparkled with possibilities. Yet, as she sat at her small desk, brushes and paint scattered around her, the vibrant hues felt muted. The weight of her responsibilities pressed heavily on her shoulders, pulling her toward a past she was desperate to redefine. Each frantic tick of the clock reminded her that time was limited, art waited for no one. Sketching felt foreign today. The movements of her hands were mechanical instead of fluid, as if the brush had lost its intimacy with her soul. Jessie desperately needed to dig deeper, to carve out space in her chaotic thoughts. She needed a plan that could harmonize her aspirations with the duties that kept storming her mind. "I need a strategy," Jessie whispered to herself, a mantra against the nagging urgency. Armed with determination, she launched into the day with a notepad in hand. The first thing she wrote was simple yet profound: balance can exist. It was a revelation that danced with possibility. She envisioned creating her art with intention while coding her caretaking duties into manageable fragments. She could set specific hours to draft sketches, and perhaps an hour after that to attend to her mother's needs. Fragmenting her time might help the order she craved. As ideas raced within her, Jessie felt the anxiety shift to a surge of adrenaline when she thought of Rose. What would it mean to share her artistic journey with her mother? The idea twisted in her gut, a mix of hope and uncertainty. She could show Rose the sketches they had talked about, the colors and images that illustrated their intertwined stories. Stepping back, she allowed the surge of hope to reframe her connection with her mother. Could her art truly be a lifeline, something that illuminated the path for both of them? The thought ignited a flicker of excitement. Jessie mined through memories of watching Rose marvel at her earliest creations, all while feeling the pull of despair for lost opportunities. Driven by this newfound inspiration, Jessie grabbed her canvas and began to sketch a composition her mother depicted as a radiant figure engulfed in garden flowers, vibrant colors swirling around her. For Jessie, this was more than just a painting. This was a love letter woven into every brushstroke. Yet, as she leaned into the creative flow, a knock at the door shattered the silence. Startled, she looked up just as her neighbor, Mrs. Hargrove, peeked in. The elderly woman stood with a concerned smile, her crutch propped against the wall. "Is everything all right, Jessie?" she asked, sensing the turmoil behind Jessie's artistic fervor. "Yeah, I'm okay, just trying to figure out my balance." Jessie offered a weak smile, unsure of explaining the intricacies of her plight to someone who carried her own burdens. "I remember when I had to care for my own mother," Mrs. Hargrove said softly, her voice laced with empathy. "I lost myself in the process. It's important to let your art find a way to speak for you, let it breathe life into your world." The statement hung in the air, echoing the sentiments of Jessie's earlier thoughts. Could it be that Mrs. Hargrove had unlocked something profound with her words? Jessie began to envision her art as both a means of expression and a profound connection to her purpose. As the conversation deepened, she felt an urgent longing and impulse to share more of her vision. The brief encounter awakened a part of her that craved authenticity, processing emotions she often tucked away. Art and duty were intrinsically woven into her life's fabric, but they needed not to exist in opposition. However, self-doubt loomed large as Jessie contemplated sharing her work with Rose. What if her mother failed to understand the depth behind the paintings? What if Rose expressed disappointment instead of the encouragement Jessie craved? Struggling with her thoughts, Jessie pushed back against that skepticism. She would face this fear directly. Today would mark the beginning of channeling who she was into, who she could be. As she returned to her canvas, ideas pouring fiercely now, the phone buzzed again, an unwelcome distraction. She often dreaded what responsibilities awaited her on the other end, a reminder of the complexity of her dual life, but it was no longer about the obligations dragging her down, it was about the art lifting her up. With determined resolve, Jessie inhaled deeply, sharpening her focus. Today was the day she would share her sketches with Rose, to weave together strands of duty and passion into something beautiful. But just as she found her clarity, a well-concealed fear slinked back into her psyche. Would this artistic journey alienate her more than it connected? The depths of uncertainty whispered once again, weaving itself into the very fabric of her ambitions. Uncertainty and discovery danced on the precipice of her next choice. Just as she poised herself to take action, another buzz sent ripples through her focus. What awaited her now might change everything. Would she dare seize the moment? Jessie's hand trembled slightly as she reached for her phone, the first personal distraction she dared to entertain today. Without looking, she swiped the screen, her heart pounding in rhythm with the apprehension swelling within her. It was a message from her friend Mia, an impulsive and carefree spirit with no filter when it came to sharing good news. But this was different. Jess. You won't believe this. I got an invite to an art gala tonight. You have to come with me. It'll be good for you to get out and mingle. The pressure behind her chest tightened as she absorbed the implications of Mia's words. An art gala, she repeated under her breath, contemplating the murky waters of social engagement. She had spent countless hours night after night sequestered in her art studio. Was she ready? Mia's infectious enthusiasm often persuaded her to step beyond her comfort zone, but tonight felt cornerstone like a potential flashpoint for her creative resurgence. The gala was not just an opportunity to socialize, it was a chance to immerse herself in an environment that celebrated the very essence of what she longed to reclaim. The question hovered stubbornly in the air: did she have the courage to showcase her work to a broader audience, including her own fears and vulnerabilities, pushing aside the internal tempest that brewed? A faint spark of excitement ignited within her. Perhaps attending the gala would unravel more than the expected doubt. It could solidify her resolve to invite Rose into her world. Picturing the joy of surprising her mother with her creations, Jessie felt a new wave of determination. "I'll go," she whispered, the words infused with a newfound certainty. As she crafted her response to Mia, Jessie thought of all the unseen artists out there, those like her who teetered on the precipice of visibility versus obscurity. What was worse, remaining hidden due to fear of judgment, or taking the leap into the light, regardless of the potential for criticism? With her decision made, Jessie returned to her canvas, the vibrant colors seeming to pulse with life. Inspired, she spent the next hours painting furiously, each brushstroke a defiant affirmation of her commitment to herself and her art. It became a cyclical process. She lost herself in the creation only to emerge more determined to invite others in. That evening, she donned her favorite dress, a comforting blend of elegance and simplicity, something that provided confidence without overshadowing her true self. She glanced in the mirror, surprised at her reflection. It spoke of a woman who was learning to break free from the chains of her past. A woman ready to embrace vulnerability. When they arrived at the gala, the atmosphere buzzed with excitement, laughter, and the rustling sound of art lovers mingling. The grandeur of the space, filled with captivating artwork, felt overwhelming yet invigorating. Jessie clutched Mia's arm, her heart raced as they navigated through the throng of sophisticated individuals, some brushing past her like fleeting shadows. Suddenly, the realization struck her: this was the moment she had been waiting for. She could share her work not just to be seen but to connect. It was a chance to transform her art into an experience, to translate her thoughts and emotions into something that others might resonate with. The anticipation felt electric. Just as she stepped closer to the exhibit area, Jessie spotted a familiar face, a fellow artist she admired from afar, Alex. A well-known figure in the local art community, he often stirred mixed feelings within her, admiration intertwined with jealousy. Confronting her internal skepticism, she debated whether to approach him. Would she reveal her aspirations or retreat into anonymity? Jessie's pulse quickened. Was it the acceptance she sought or the validation of overcoming her fears? With each hesitant step toward Alex, the tension spooled tighter around her. What conversation awaited her? Would their brief interaction fortify her confidence, or reveal the stark contrast between her dreams and the vibrant life others lived? The moment hung in the air, thick with possibility. Just as she gathered her breath to speak, a shout erupted from across the room, demanding all eyes on the unfolding drama. Instinctively, she turned, curiosity battling with the self-assured resolve she had donned moments earlier. Would this unexpected twist draw her back into the shadows she once inhabited, or propel her forward into the unknown realm of opportunity? As conflict and potential collided, Jessie braced herself for what came next. The commotion echoed in Jessie's ears, a cacophony that pulled her away from the imminent conversation with Alex. A cluster of people had gathered around a couple in animated discussion, their faces a mixture of horror and fascination. This distraction momentarily eased the bite of anxiety gripping her heart. But it also stirred an unsettling question: what if this spectacle siphoned the energy from her own moment of courage? Jessie turned back to Alex, reminding herself that this was her chance. Yet, as she moved through the thrumming crowd, the excitement of earlier began to twist into doubt. In this world filled with bright lights and painterly dreams, would her art even resonate? She pushed away the self-doubt. She had come here with intent, and now was the time to step into the light. Taking a deep breath, Jessie summoned her resolve. She was an artist, a creator of worlds through her brushes and colors. What was so daunting about introducing herself to someone whose work she admired? Through the tumult of emotions, she recognized the heart of the issue. It was fear of comparison. Alex belonged in this world, she did not. At least, that's what she had told herself. But the longer she stood at the cusp of this pivotal moment, the clearer it became that hiding back in the shadows was not a choice she could afford. Jessie steadied her breath and moved decisively toward Alex, momentum building within her. "Hi, Alex," she managed as she approached, her voice steady despite the quickening rhythm of her heartbeat. "I'm Jessie. I've admired your work from afar." His piercing gaze shifted to her, curiosity replacing the earlier detachment. "Oh, hey. Your name sounds familiar. Do you exhibit often?" Jessie's chest fluttered with possibility. This was not just idle chatter, this was validation. She nodded, her words tumbling forth. "I have a small studio where I create, but I haven't shown much of my work outside yet. I'm hoping to change that." "Good for you," he replied, the sincerity in his tone disarming her. "Remember, we're all just trying to find our voice. Art is subjective, and what resonates with one might not with another. But your vision is yours, own it." His words struck a chord deep within Jessie. A flicker of fear was overtaken by the hope that had propelled her here tonight. This interaction held lessons far beyond mere conversation. It was a validation of her journey thus far, an acknowledgement that the path was just as valid, no matter how small the step taken. As more laughter and sounds pulsed through the gallery, she realized something profound. This moment, this connection was an affirmation of her choice to come, to embrace not just her art but the creative community. It was exhilarating and liberating. Suddenly, a loud crash disturbed the air. An easel had toppled over, sending an artwork splattering paint across the polished floor. The crowd gasped, but instead of retreating into chaos, each person began to help clean the mess, their camaraderie palpable. In the midst of a disaster, there was unity and support, a testament to the resilience of creatives. Jessie stood tall, witnessing the solidarity of kindred spirits. She felt a swell of excitement in her chest, a surge of newfound purpose. This was a world of connection, encouragement, and collaboration. It resonated with her burgeoning desire to break free from solitude, to be a part of something bigger. "I want to let fear dictate my path," she thought to herself. With renewed resolve, she turned back to Alex, ready for a deeper conversation and to engage with her fellow artists. Just as she opened her mouth to continue, Mia sidled up beside her, eyes sparkling with mischief. "Did you see how everyone came together over that spill?" she exclaimed. "Imagine if we could channel that energy into a collective project." Jessie felt a thrill of inspiration surge but was quickly interrupted by a flicker of apprehension. What would that mean for her individuality in the midst of collaboration? Choices were looming once more, each one fraught with the potential for growth or retreat. Would she embrace the chaos and possibilities of such collaboration, or would she cling to her singular vision? The parameters of her artistic journey were shifting. As tension built within her, Jessie braced for the choices ahead, pondering not only the path she desired but also the fears she had yet to confront. What would be required of her, and how would she redefine her understanding of herself as an artist? Jessie could feel the question lingering in her mind, heavy like a weight on her chest. A collective project? The mere suggestion ignited a flame of possibility, yet it conjured images of her ideas being diluted, lost among the voices of others. Collaboration could either illuminate her personal vision or eclipse it entirely. "Hey, are you in?" Mia's voice interrupted Jessie's thoughts, holding the same bright optimism that radiated from her beaming smile. Jessie hesitated. I'm not sure," she replied, the uncertainty threading through her voice. Was she really ready to venture into collaborative territory? "You won't know until you try. It could be a chance to learn, to grow," Mia urged, raising her eyebrows in encouragement. "I get it," Jessie said, unwilling to let her doubts overshadow the exciting potential of creative synergy. But my art is so personal. What if my work gets lost or changed? Mia's expression softened, filled with understanding. Then you have to make sure it stays true to you. Collaboration doesn't have to mean losing your voice. It could actually help you refine it. You're not alone in this. Jessie allowed herself to visualize what Mia was proposing, the dynamic of artists coming together, their different styles creating harmony in dissonance. There could be something liberating in it, an opportunity to stretch her artistic boundaries. But could she navigate the balance between individual expression and teamwork? With every moment of indecision, she felt anxiety ebbing and flowing like the tide. Deep breaths were becoming her quiet refuge. She thought back to her earlier conversation with Alex. He believed in owning one's vision, notwithstanding the myriad ideas swirling around her. Could this spark of collaboration dilute her vision, or could it act as a crucible, forging something richer than she could create alone? "All right," she heard herself say, surprising even herself. "Let us do it." Her resolve firmed with each syllable. She could assert her artistic identity while inviting others into her creative space. This could be the experience that allowed her to transform those fears into strengths. Mia grinned, a flurry of energy radiating from her. "Great. I'll reach out to some people I know, and we can brainstorm ideas. Imagine the combination of styles. We could really push boundaries." Jessie's chest tightened and then loosened, an ebb and flow of excitement and trepidation. "Pushing boundaries, yes," she whispered, nodding slowly. The battle of uncertainty still loomed, yet the glimmer of possibility sparkled in her mind. Every step she had taken this evening opened her eyes to new spaces. What if this experience unleashed untapped talent within her, expanding her horizons in ways she hadn't anticipated? The crowd swirled around them, vibrant and full of life, and she felt herself blending into the kaleidoscope of artistry. It was exhilarating. Now she was amongst voices she could both learn from and inspire. As the event continued, Jessie found herself engaging in deeper conversations with artists, exchanging ideas, sharing techniques, but still searching for that connection that came with genuine collaboration. Unexpected realizations were coming thick and fast. She was starting to break away from the confines of her self-imposed isolation. She could hear her voice rising, growing stronger amid her fellow creators, a harmony forming with every shared thought. But as she explored this new territory, an uneasiness tickled at the edges of her enthusiasm. Would she be able to maintain her artistic integrity in a room full of booming ideas? What if her ideas were challenged or outright rejected? Closing the evening, Jessie stood with Mia, her heart alive with newfound ambition yet questioning how confident she truly felt stepping into this realm of collective creation. "Tonight was powerful," Jessie said, her voice barely audible above the fading music. "But I know it won't be easy." Mia smiled knowingly. Good art rarely is. Soon, the gentle hum of the crowd began to disperse, leaving echoes of laughter and conversation lingering behind. As the lights dimmed, Jessie pondered the journey ahead. Whispers of excitement and fear tangled together in a delightful dance. The night had bestowed upon her the chance to redefine her notion of artistry. Yet, an unsettling thought crept in: was she truly ready to face the artistic critiques and the potential for vulnerability that came with collaboration? Her fingers brushed against the flyer for an upcoming exhibition, something she might consider contributing to with the group's project. Should I really? She mused internally. What if the feedback shatters the fragile confidence I'm building? A choice had to be made, a line drawn in the sand. It was time to confront the looming prospect of vulnerability head-on. Jessie felt the pull of destiny and doubt collide within, and her heart raced in response. The moment had arrived for her to discover if she could thrive in the company of others without losing herself. As the last of the crowd thinned, she fixed her gaze on the exit, imagining the path ahead. What awaited her on the other side of this decision would set the stage for everything that followed. Would she choose to leap into the unknown or retreat back into her cocoon, forever to linger in the shadows? Jessie inhaled sharply, muscles tensing. The next step was hers to take, and with it, the challenge of her authenticity awaited. Jessie stood at the edge of her decision, heart pounding as the flickering lights cast a dim glow on her surroundings. The air was still, almost heavyweight in its silence, a stark contrast to the vibrant energy that had surrounded her moments before. The prospect of collaboration loomed like an uncharted territory, filled with whispering doubts and flickering hopes. Despite the exhilaration of saying yes, Jessie's mind spiraled back to the uncertainties of sharing her work. What if they rejected her ideas? The thought of criticism pierced through her enthusiasm, sharpening her self-doubt. Each time she envisioned presenting her art, a mental image emerged, a panel of critics scrutinizing every brushstroke, every layer of paint. Would they value her voice, her vision, or would it get lost in the cacophony of collective creation? A leap of faith, right? She muttered to herself, trudging through the thrumming streets. This was a new frontier, a chance, but fraught with the potential for discomfort. Her steps quickened, an instinctive reaction to the apprehension bubbling within. Was she really brave enough to bare her soul to others? Later that night, alone in her dimly lit studio, Jessie stood before her canvas, the texture of the fabric soft against her fingertips. Her heart sank as she contemplated the vast emptiness it represented. How could she pour her essence into a piece that would be up for negotiation, a subject of debate among her peers? In that moment of reflection, she noticed the vibrant palette she'd left untouched on her easel, a stark reminder of the colors she held inside her, yearning for expression. That untapped energy coursed through her, subtly urging her to engage in the mission she had accepted. Perhaps there was strength in vulnerability, she pondered. Wasn't there true beauty in laying one's soul bare for the world to witness? By morning, Jessie had decided to channel her fear into action. She began sketching ideas for the collaborative piece, infusing her unique elements into the designs while contemplating how to weave others' contributions seamlessly into her foundation. The willingness to adapt might color her art in unexpected, enriching ways. She didn't need to lose her voice, instead, she could amplify it through this collaboration. Mornings became her ritual. With coffee in hand, she explored various multimedia techniques and styles, challenging her artistic boundaries. Slowly, the initial thread of fear began to unravel, replaced by a blossoming curiosity. Jessie found herself entangled in a web of creativity, yielding to the process rather than resisting it. As the exhibition approached, she noticed a shift in her confidence. The more she immersed herself in the collaborative spirit, the more she realized that every conversation, every shared idea served to strengthen her resolve. This could be the crucible that tested and refined her artistic persona rather than erasing it. Yet, in the whispers of excitement and growth, a reminder still flickered: vulnerability could lead to critique. She could picture the opening night, gauging the reactions of others. Would they embrace her contributions or dismiss them as merely another piece in a larger collective? Jessie felt the tension coiling once more, the blend of anticipation and dread. She had to confront the reality of possibly facing disappointment or, worse, apathy towards her work. Would she allow it to shatter the confidence she had built through this journey? The night before the exhibition opening, Jessie gathered her sketches and notes, surrounded by the chaos of color and form she had created. Could this project be her breakthrough into the world she longed to be part of, or would it hold her back, leaving her spiraling in self-doubt once more? Her heart quickened at the thought this was her moment to step out from shadows and claim her place in the artistic community. Taking a long, deep breath, she reminded herself, the true test lay not in the fear of rejection but in embracing the uncertainty. Just as she reached for her phone to message Mia about a final brainstorming meeting, the lamp flickered, casting shadows that danced upon her walls, a reminder that light and dark coexisted in every creation. Tomorrow would signal a new chapter, one filled with the raw energy of critique, acceptance, potential failure, and extraordinary triumph. But as she sunk deeper into her thoughts, an unshakable question lingered: what if the art she created under collaboration didn't reflect her truest self? Perhaps a hidden part of her was still waiting to be unleashed, only to be discovered through the chaos of creation. As dawn broke, Jessie found herself perched on the precipice of discovery, both exhilarating and intimidating. The morning light spilled through her studio window, illuminating the canvas she had neglected in her moment of self-doubt. Today marked the exhibition opening, and she felt the weight of expectations pressing against her chest like a boulder. Standing before her creations, she examined the pieces meticulously. Would they communicate the emotions she intended? Her fingers brushed against the textures, her mind swirling with questions. Had she truly integrated her voice into this collaboration, or had she bent too much to accommodate others? The thought triggered an insistent knot in her stomach, urging her to reconsider decisions made in trust and hope. With each passing moment, the reality of the exhibition loomed larger. Jessie grabbed her sketchbook, the faded paper filled with concepts she had never fully materialized. She flipped through the pages, occasionally stopping to trace the lines with her fingertip, suddenly reminded of the singular vision that ignited her passion. The thrill of solitary creation, the allure of painting alone. Where had that sense of ownership gone? A simmering frustration cascaded through her thoughts. How could she celebrate collaboration without sacrificing her identity as an artist? The lines of her style had started to blur, and the faceless masses she sought to impress now seemed more daunting than ever. Jessie needed a plan. She laid the sketchbook aside, her heart racing as she sketched out a strategy for the evening. The vibrant colors she had previously embraced felt feverishly elusive, as did her confidence. She picked up her palette, inhaling deeply, coaxing the comfort of familiarity. Jessie resolved to approach the opening not merely as a presenter but as an equal participant in the collaborative narrative. If nothing else, she needed to celebrate this endeavor, embracing the artistic tapestry woven from all contributors, including herself. As she meticulously added final touches to her canvases, Jessie became lost in her thoughts, considering the possibility of genuine connection. Stripping away the layers of anxiety surrounding perception and judgment, she reminded herself that every piece told a story not just of her own, but of shared experiences. A gentle sense of pride swelled within her, urging her to channel that energy into her presentation. A quick glance at the clock shattered her moment of calm. Time was slipping away. She swiftly gathered her materials, her heart drumming a frantic rhythm, a mixture of anticipation and dread. Jessie knew that stepping into the exhibition hall would be like facing a flood of critiques, a test of her mettle. Would she shrink inward when facing possible rejection? With an unyielding determination, she took a deep breath, imagining herself stepping onto that stage, vulnerability radiating from her every word. Would she invite the audience into the world of her art, a world colored with the shades of her fear and the vibrant hues of her collective experiences? Jessie could already visualize the whispers of evaluation, felt the gained strength that would follow. As Jessie stepped out of her studio, a palpable electricity surged in the air. The world felt both alive and charged with potential. With each stride toward her destination, resolve permeated her being. She was no longer a solitary creator preparing for judgment, she was an artist, fierce and unyielding, prepared to face whatever reactions awaited her at the exhibition. Yet, amid her determination, a new question unfurled. What truths lurked beyond the events of this night? In sharing this part of herself, would she finally reveal the hidden depths of her artistic spirit or merely scrape the surface? The answer beckoned like a distant mystery, waiting patiently for the boldest of seekers. She stepped into the light and promised herself to chase the shadows, to illuminate what lay hidden beneath the weight of collaboration. Tomorrow might reveal more than the outcome of her exhibition, it could unravel a deeper understanding of who she truly was as an artist. The night of the exhibition arrived with the elegant air of uncertainty. Jessie stepped into the gallery, heart racing with an exhilarating mixture of nerves and determination. It felt as though the entire universe held its breath, waiting for her entrance into a realm previously foreign but now achingly familiar. Her art, vibrant and alive, hung framed on the pristine walls, begging for recognition yet whispering secrets of her deepest fears and aspirations. As the crowd filtered around her creations, Jessie felt the weight of their scrutiny wash over her, an electric charge dancing along her spine. But amidst that palpable tension, a shift began to occur. One by one, viewers leaned in, their expressions taking on the light of recognition instead of judgment. Eyes widened in appreciation, smiles blossomed in connection. Each moment punctured the walls she had built in her heart. "Wow, this piece speaks volumes about overcoming personal struggles," one woman observed aloud, gesturing toward a painting that encapsulated her tumultuous journey with swirling colors of hope and despair. Jessie's breath caught as validation began to intertwine with her narrative, swirling her doubts into the background. It was the first time that someone genuinely saw her art through the lens of experience, resonance sparking from shared humanity. Stepping into conversations, she engaged with guests, hearing their interpretations of her work that were rich with their own stories. These interactions transformed her fear into fascination. Jessie realized the vulnerability she dreaded turned into a powerful bridge connecting experiences celebrated through art. She could feel the courage swelling within her as she shared the essence behind each brushstroke, recounting moments with her mother that had served as both anchor and catalyst. "Your honesty is refreshing," someone remarked, clasping her shoulder. The warmth of the praise unfurled her heart, reassuring her that she was truly enough. Maybe, just maybe, she had embraced her identity as both artist and daughter without sacrificing one for the other. The heaviness that once loomed above her transformed into lightness, lifting her spirit as she moved deeper into the gallery, each step deliberate and powerful. As Jessie continued mingling, she heard laughter erupting from where Mia and Alex stood, both animatedly discussing the success of the collaborative project. Pride surged through Jessie's veins, illuminating her heart as she recalled their joint efforts, an alchemical meld of voices all seeking to share their truth. Yes, individuality shone through the collective, yet what emerged was an entirely new color. The merging of narratives elevated her experience, fostering an enriching growth she hadn't anticipated. Suddenly, she became aware of a presence lingering behind her. David. His gaze filled with a well of admiration, he approached, standing before her. "You've created something extraordinary, Jessie," he said, his voice brimming with sincerity. Recognition fluttered in her chest, igniting confidence. She had transformed from overwhelmed waitress to a visible force, owning her journey through art. "Thank you, David. I never thought I could find my voice like this," Jessie confessed, the glow of fulfillment illuminating her features. He smiled warmly, and in that moment, the weight of her past began to shift into clarity. This exhibition didn't just represent her art, it marked a monumental step in integrating her passions with her life's responsibilities. As she continued to share her journey and engage with delighted attendees, the chaos morphed into serene acceptance, her art conveying rich narratives, a simple yet profound connection to others through her struggles. Jessie felt a surge of satisfaction rumble through her, embracing the balance she had fought to attain. The support of a community she once felt distant from began to envelop her, weaving her narrative into the greater tapestry of artistic existence. By the end of the evening, a familiar feeling unfurled within Jessie, a solid confidence. And a recognized competence. She had stepped from the shadows of self-doubt into the vibrant light of achievement. Her art was not merely a reflection of her struggles, it was validation of her strength and resilience, recognized by peers and mentors alike. As the night concluded, Jessie stood amidst her canvases, seeing her work not just as individual pieces but as chapters of a larger story, a story she now commanded with courage and dedication. With a smile gracing her lips, she made a silent vow to continue nurturing her passion, to embrace both duty and aspiration, allowing them to define her journey rather than limit it. This was her moment of transformation, the culmination of hard-fought battles, reflecting in each stroke of paint a reassuring whisper to her heart that it was now time to step into her future, an accomplished artist ready to take on the world. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Your support is crucial. Comment your reactions and theories about this powerful ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second, your help matters.